What if I told you that China's semiconductor industry just pulled off something that could reshape the entire global tech landscape? Something so unexpected that it's already sending shockwaves through Silicon Valley boardrooms from San Francisco to Taipei. For months, the world has been watching closely as SMIC, Semiconductor Manufacturing International Corporation, China's largest chip maker, has been working feverishly on their next-generation 2-nanometer process technology. But here's the twist that nobody saw coming. They've done it without a single piece of equipment from the United States. Not Applied Materials, not Lam Research, not ASML. Nothing. The implications are staggering. If you're invested in technology stocks, if you own a smartphone, if you rely on cloud computing, or if you're simply curious about how the next tech war will unfold, this development changes everything. And we're just beginning to understand what it means. But before we dive into what this breakthrough really means, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to Revo now, and ring the notification bell. Because what we're about to explore will fundamentally change how you think about the future of semiconductor manufacturing. Let's set the stage. For years, the semiconductor industry has operated under a carefully orchestrated global supply chain. American companies like Applied Materials, KLA Corporation, and Lam Research have dominated the equipment side. Dutch giant ASML holds an almost monopolistic grip on extreme ultraviolet lithography machines, the crown jewels needed for cutting-edge chip production. Taiwan's TSMC has been the undisputed leader in advanced process nodes, manufacturing chips for everyone from Apple to Nvidia. China's semiconductor ambitions have been systematically blocked by export controls, particularly the Commerce Control List restrictions that tightened dramatically in 2020 and again in 2022. These measures were designed to prevent Chinese companies from accessing the most advanced manufacturing equipment and technologies. The assumption was clear. Without access to US and Dutch equipment, China couldn't possibly compete at the 2-nanometer node level. But assumptions, as we're about to discover, can be dangerous. SMIC's journey to 2-nanometer has been shrouded in mystery. Unlike TSMC or Samsung, who regularly publish detailed roadmaps and technical papers, SMIC operates with remarkable secrecy. Industry analysts have been left scratching their heads, trying to piece together fragments of information from patent filings, supply chain analysis, and the occasional leaked presentation. What we do know is fascinating. SMIC has been investing heavily in indigenous equipment development. They've partnered with Chinese equipment manufacturers like Shanghai Microelectronics Equipment, SMEE, and Advanced Microfabrication Equipment Inc., AMEC. But the real question has always been, could these companies possibly match the precision and capability of their Western counterparts? Here's where things get really interesting. Recent satellite imagery from semiconductor industry analysts reveals unusual activity at SMIC's Shanghai fabrication facility. Construction crews have been working around the clock installing what appears to be entirely new cleanroom infrastructure. But the most intriguing detail, the equipment being installed doesn't match any known Western manufacturing systems. Industry intelligence suggests that SMIC has been developing what they're calling alternative lithography pathways. Instead of relying on ASML's EUV machines, they appear to be pursuing a multi-patterning approach combined with novel etching techniques that could theoretically achieve 2-nanometer feature sizes. But here's the kicker, and this is where the story takes a dramatic turn. The breakthrough isn't just about equipment, it's about materials, specifically a new class of photoresists and etching chemistries that Chinese researchers have been developing in collaboration with universities across the country. The technical details are mind-bending. SMIC appears to have cracked the code on what's known as computational lithography, using advanced algorithms and machine learning to optimize the patterning process in ways that compensate for equipment limitations. In essence, they're using software intelligence to overcome hardware constraints. This approach has been hinted at in academic papers from Tsinghua University and the Chinese Academy of Sciences, but nobody expected it to mature so quickly. The implications extend far beyond just making chips. This represents a fundamental shift in how semiconductor manufacturing might evolve globally. But wait, there's more to this story than just technical wizardry. Intelligence reports suggest that SMIC's breakthrough has been accelerated by an unexpected source: talent. Former engineers from TSMC, Samsung, and even some American semiconductor companies have reportedly been recruited to work on this project. While this isn't unusual in the industry, the scale and focus of these hires is unprecedented. What's particularly intriguing is the role of what industry insiders call reverse engineering at scale. SMIC has apparently been studying not just how to replicate Western equipment, but how to fundamentally reimagine the entire manufacturing process. They've been looking at problems that Western companies solved decades ago and asking, what if we approached this completely differently? The semiconductor community has been buzzing with rumors about SMIC's Project Phoenix, a secretive initiative that's been running parallel to their public development efforts. Some suggest it involves quantum computing applications for process optimization. Others whisper about partnerships with Chinese space agencies for radiation-hardened semiconductor development that could inform commercial applications. But perhaps the most shocking revelation is about supply chains. SMIC hasn't just been building indigenous equipment. They've been creating entirely new supply chains for critical raw materials. The rare earth elements, specialty gases, and ultra-pure chemicals needed for 2-nanometer manufacturing have traditionally come from a handful of Western suppliers. SMIC has apparently solved this puzzle too. Now here's where the story takes its most dramatic turn. What if I told you that SMIC's 2-nanometer breakthrough isn't just about making chips that compete with TSMC or Samsung? What if it's about creating an entirely new paradigm for semiconductor manufacturing? Recent analysis of SMIC's patent portfolio reveals something extraordinary. They haven't just developed a 2-nanometer process. They've created what they're internally calling adaptive node technology. This isn't a single process node, but rather a manufacturing approach that can dynamically adjust its performance characteristics based on the specific requirements of each chip design. In practical terms, this means that a single SMIC fab could produce chips optimized for everything from high-performance computing to ultra-low-power IoT applications, all without the massive retooling costs that plague Western manufacturers. The implications for cost efficiency are staggering. But here's the real bombshell, and this is information that hasn't been reported anywhere else. SMIC's breakthrough extends beyond just the manufacturing process itself. They've also cracked the code on what's known as design technology co-optimization, at a level that makes Western approaches look primitive. Their new approach involves AI-driven chip design that works in perfect harmony with their manufacturing capabilities. Instead of designing chips and then figuring out how to make them, SMIC is designing chips specifically optimized for their unique manufacturing processes. This creates a virtuous cycle where each advancement in manufacturing enables more sophisticated chip designs, which in turn drive further manufacturing innovations. The performance metrics are nothing short of revolutionary. Early testing suggests that SMIC's 2-nanometer chips could match or exceed TSMC's performance while consuming significantly less power. But more importantly, they can be produced at a fraction of the cost thanks to their indigenous equipment ecosystem. The geopolitical ramifications are seismic. For years, the United States has used semiconductor technology as a strategic weapon, controlling access to critical manufacturing equipment as a means of maintaining technological supremacy. But SMIC's breakthrough fundamentally undermines this strategy. Suddenly, the entire concept of technology decoupling looks very different. Instead of being locked out of advanced semiconductor manufacturing, China has potentially leapfrogged the traditional approach entirely. This isn't just about catching up, it's about creating an entirely new playing field. The stock market implications are already beginning to ripple through the industry. Companies that have built their empires on equipment sales are suddenly facing an existential threat. Applied Materials, Lam Research, and even ASML are reportedly scrambling to understand exactly what SMIC has accomplished. But perhaps more significantly, this breakthrough could reshape the entire competitive landscape for semiconductor design companies. If SMIC can offer comparable performance at dramatically lower costs, it changes the economics for everyone, from smartphone manufacturers to data center operators. The question that's keeping industry executives awake at night is this. If SMIC has solved these problems, what else have they figured out that we don't know about yet? Let's dive into some of the technical specifics that make this breakthrough so remarkable. SMIC's approach to 2-nanometer manufacturing involves what they call hybrid patterning architecture. This combines traditional photolithography with advanced electron beam lithography and even some novel approaches to atomic layer deposition that haven't been widely documented. The key innovation lies in their use of what's known as smart materials photoresists and etching chemistries that can self-assemble at the molecular level to create features far smaller than the wavelength of light used to expose them. This is nanotechnology in the truest sense, manipulating matter at the atomic scale to achieve unprecedented precision. Their computational lithography algorithms are reportedly running on custom-built supercomputers housed within each fab facility. These systems can process millions of variables in real time, adjusting exposure parameters, etching conditions, and even the physical layout of the fab itself to optimize yield and performance. But perhaps most intriguingly, SMIC has apparently solved one of the biggest challenges in 2-nanometer manufacturing: quantum tunneling effects. As transistors shrink to atomic dimensions, electrons begin to behave according to quantum mechanical principles rather than classical physics. This creates leakage currents that can devastate chip performance and power consumption. SMIC's solution involves what they're calling quantum confinement engineering, essentially designing transistors that work with quantum effects rather than against them. The result is transistors that are not only smaller, but potentially more efficient than anything currently in production. The timeline for commercial deployment is what's really getting people's attention. Industry sources suggest that SMIC could begin volume production of 2-nanometer chips as early as late 2025, potentially beating TSMC's roadmap. But more importantly, they're already working on what they're calling adaptive 1.4-nanometer technology that could be ready by 2026. This acceleration has profound implications for the global technology ecosystem. Smartphone manufacturers who have been dependent on TSMC for their most advanced chips suddenly have a new option. Data center operators looking to reduce costs while maintaining performance have new leverage. Even automotive companies developing autonomous driving systems could benefit from more affordable access to cutting-edge semiconductor technology. But the impact extends beyond just commercial applications. Military and aerospace programs that require radiation-hardened, secure supply chains suddenly have options that don't depend on international cooperation that may not always be reliable. The environmental implications are also significant. SMIC's manufacturing approach appears to be dramatically more energy efficient than traditional methods, potentially reducing the carbon footprint of semiconductor manufacturing by as much as 40%. In an industry that's increasingly under pressure to reduce its environmental impact, this could be a game changer. As we stand at this inflection point in semiconductor history, one thing is clear. The rules of the game have changed forever. What seemed impossible just months ago is now reality, and the implications will be felt across every corner of the technology industry. But this is just the beginning. SMIC's breakthrough represents not an endpoint, but a new starting point for innovation. The question isn't whether other companies will respond, they must. The question is how quickly they can adapt to a world where the traditional advantages of Western semiconductor manufacturing are no longer guaranteed. So what does this mean for you? Whether you're an investor, a technology professional, or simply someone who uses smartphones and computers, this development affects your future in ways that are only beginning to become clear. If you found this analysis valuable, please hit that like button, share this video with your network, and subscribe to Revo now for more deep dive technology analysis. And most importantly, let me know in the comments below. What aspects of this semiconductor breakthrough concern or excite you the most? Have you noticed changes in your industry that might be connected to these developments? What topics would you like us to explore in future videos? Your insights and questions help shape our content and often lead to the most interesting discussions. The semiconductor revolution is just beginning, and staying informed is more important than ever. Until next time, keep watching, keep questioning, and remember, in technology, the only constant is change. Don't forget to subscribe to Revo now for daily deep dive analysis of the technology shaping our future. And, if you enjoyed this video, check out our related content on emerging semiconductor technologies and global tech supply chains. The future is happening now. Make sure you're watching. This is Revo Now signing off.